This is Heart Rhythm TV. My name is Janet Hahn, and I'm here today at HRX 2024 live from the floor with Bleron Baraliu from 91 Life. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. You just came off the stage just now, right? Talking a little bit about AI and sort of optimizing it for our clinicians. And I know, I was with Bleron on a plane coming back from HRS not too long ago, totally exhausted, but we had great conversations. And Bleron, I learned that you are a mathematician by trade, right? So we don't find a lot of
That's
mathematicians.
Right. Yes.
Tell me a little bit how your background of mathematics sort of played into your development of 91 Life.
Well, early on, my passion for mathematics was sort of unconditional, pure math. But later I realized I wanted to do something more with that, contribute to humanity. And in the beginning, I had sort of found myself in Wall Street. It was very challenging and interesting work. But again, as I aspired to something more meaningful, then I realized quickly that the application of math to medicine could be riveting on one hand and have a huge effect, in particular as we try to migrate from allopathic medicine of a couple of hundred years into something more specific, towards personalized patient care. So the idea was born from the conviction that we have a convergence of mathematics, data science, technology with medicine that's going to change dramatically, well, in particular every facet of human activity, but in particular medicine. And that's what we started at 91. So a data science and technology company that's tasked with empowering physicians with intelligence from big data.
No, I think that's great. I know that we had talked previously at another panel that we were on that, my passion is in remote monitoring. I know that a lot of your work also is in remote monitoring. And tell me a little bit about how does 91 Life help with remote monitoring? Because we know that is a huge data dump. Like there's so much data that comes towards physicians from patients. And how do we handle that? And how does 91 Life play into that?
Yeah, so the first task was pretty much optimization of processes and workflows, because we know that something like 50% of the time physicians today spend entering data or reading data. So first was how do we optimize this, and then ultimately how do you use AI to create insights and create augmented intelligence to help physicians make better decisions but also deliver better care. So if you look at what AI medicine is today, there are two schools of thought. One that says you can use AI to disintermediate the physician. We absolutely don't believe in this. And the other one that says you can use AI to actually empower physicians to make more accurate and highly precise decisions in real time. So remote monitoring for us was a great opportunity on both tangents. On one hand, what we've done for clinics, for our clients, is we've made it much easier to see the data, drill down, in particular stratify useful versus useless information or information that's not relevant clinically at the moment. And then on the other hand, we've gained a gold mine of data that can be used to train models to understand, say, anything from arrhythmias, ECGs, other medical conditions that can later be used both to inform the physician as well as to predict the trajectory of disease, so they can inform the physician and the patient in terms of what the continuing care is going to look like.
So maybe it seems like it's not just about handling the data, but it's also about using that data to maybe facilitate care from the physician side, but for the patients, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first task of any sort of technologist mathematician is to integrate the information and deliver it in simplistic, comprehensible, easy to access format to the physician and then potentially to the patient as well. So the next stage of that is how to make all of this data, all of the conclusions sort of more understandable, help the physician make these more understandable to the patients, in particular because you don't have patients that are necessarily as knowledgeable as some of the other ones. So the idea was to help with reducing burnouts and create efficiencies both operationally as well as clinically, but at the same time derive decision making, or I should say create concise conclusions from big data that allow the physicians to make these decisions. I don't think we're anywhere at the point where AI can make decisions independently.
Sure, but help inform decisions, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Inform physicians and their teams and NPs, et cetera, to really make faster, better, more accurate decisions, hopefully.
Yeah. And remote monitoring is a great example because, as you know, the benefits are quite significant. On the other hand, there's a deluge of data that makes it very difficult for physicians to be able to handle all this information. So when you have too much information, that means you read no information.
Right,
so
exactly.
I think, and one of the interesting things we have found, and we're actually doing a lot of work to try to sort of understand how to handle this deluge of data, is that a handful of patients, something like less than 10%, account for 90% of clinically irrelevant information. So part of what we're using AI right now is to understand which information is sort of less relevant than the others. And then the other part that's very difficult is to really teach AI to adjudicate. And when it comes to adjudication, it's very difficult because if you have 5 physicians, sometimes you get 6 opinions in terms of what something means. So AI cannot think subjective like a physician can, cannot think in context of a patient's relationships and circumstances and status quo in their life. So it's very difficult. That's why it's very difficult to bridge that gap. But what we can do is we can synthesize information in a way that the physician now feels much more comfortable in their decision making and in delivering that care to the patient.
Making it really more efficient, right? Because we're sitting many times just sifting through data reams, and this will help us as well, just become a little bit more efficient.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think electrophysiology is sort of a great ground for sort of advancing AI, because we have not only do we have data from the source, in particular for implanted devices, but we have continuous data, because these devices will alert anytime something is wrong. So for a mathematician, this is a dream come true,
right.
Because you have an idea of sort of what has happened to the patient through time.
Right.
It's not just discrete data at some point in time.
Yeah, so 91 Life, give me the website so people can learn more. What's the website?
Yeah, 91.life.
91.life,
yes.
easy to remember.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Bleron, for taking the time to sit at this great conference. I hope to hear from you more as the conference goes on.
Absolutely. We love this conference because it's a very high concentration of people who care about advancing medicine with digital health and AI. So it's a very interesting session, a very interesting place to be.
Thanks so much. Okay,
Thank you.
This is Heart Rhythm TV, Janet Hahn. We'll see you on the next episode of Heart Rhythm TV from HRX 2024. Thanks.